Good evening. Welcome to the last regular meeting of the Carlisle School Committee for this academic year. Call the meeting to order. And we will open with public comments. Does anyone wish to make a comment? Okay. The next item of business is a review of the minutes of the meeting of May 9th, which you have in your packets. Anyone like to make a motion on that?
Move to approve the minutes of May 9th as distributed in the packet.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
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 Abstain, I wasn't there.
The motion carries. And now we move to the exciting part of the agenda, the student showcase. I recognize Terry Wilson.
Hi, thanks. So, this is like my favorite meeting of the year always, when we're able to bring families and our students together to show off a little bit some of our talents and the accomplishments that they've made this year. So we had a really nice selection of folks that are joining us tonight, everywhere from some of our athletic kind of recognition to our musical talent to our community service work. And we're going to start with Mrs. Heigl, who's going to talk for a little bit about PE recognition, and then we have some musical work from there. So, Margaret, it's all yours.
Thank you very much. And I am here to highlight some of the students who have gone above and beyond in either community service or athletics. And
We want you on TV.
oh no. Isn't this the first night? This probably hasn't worked out the bugs. Okay, so all the students who are present here tonight are here through athletics demonstrated great leadership skills, hard work, determination, and respect on the field or on the court. All teams consisted of terrific student athletes and should all be very proud of themselves. Obviously, I couldn't bring in every team member for every team. So for field hockey, I'd like to introduce Mia Camo. If you want to stand up, Mia, say hi.
Hello.
And Emma Tonys.
Hi.
For cross country, Isabella, and I'll refrain from saying her last name. S. Want to say it for us, Isabella? Okay, there you go. Susanna Snell and Lana Bardzik. They are not here tonight, but they were highlighted by Mr. Gale and Mr. Mayer. For cross country, and huge leadership. They ran practices, they set everything up, and as you probably know, cross country had 80 plus kids, and sometimes it's up to 100 kids, so congratulations. Basketball, both Rachel Barg and Ben Topol are not here, but they've been highlighted by the basketball coaches. Softball, again, Isabella, S, Mia Camo, and Emma Tonys. So congratulations to them. With regard to softball, we were really fortunate to have Mrs. Carmel help me coach, because I'm not a softball coach, and Mr. Gambino. He has been really instrumental in helping us the last 3 years develop a team and keep our team. So hopefully that continues. Unfortunately, we didn't have a baseball team, but we'll continue to work on that. For community service, again, these students went above and beyond their health education requirement of 10 hours of community service. The project for community service is basically meant to give back to Carlisle, to the community, in a way that they feel passionate about, either toward a program or a teacher or some small community within our community. And they really take it to heart. They work very, very hard. Many students worked in the classroom here at school, helping our teachers and helping our students here. And they donated their time, volunteered their time during recess, after school, and during tutorials, things like that, and over weekends, and shelters, library, all over the place. So they should be congratulated. I want to focus on Maddie Gambino, who's not here, Emma Tonys, Mia Camo, Jenny Colbert, who's not here, and Susanna Snell, also not here. Mr. Gale said Maddie and Jenny and Susanna Snell were provided best instruction, the best help for 6th grade homework club and tutorial that he's ever had. And that's saying a lot because they give up their time, they work one-on-one or in small groups with the 6th grade homework club, and they did an outstanding job. I think Emma may want to say something about her community service.
Oh, okay.
You don't have to.
That's fine.
Or athletics.
Sure. But I found out through this community service that really like how much I already do to help my community, and I feel that this was like less of an assignment and more of like a wake-up call, so that we like found out like how much we do and how we should continue to support our community. So like my friend and I, Catherine Berry, we helped the new choir teacher the first term, and we helped her like set up her bulletin boards and showed her around the school, made sure she understood, and then like we developed a special relationship with her. So that kind of helped us introduce her to our school, but also introduce us to community service.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great. So thank you, everybody.
All right, so now we have quite an amazing performer, Miss Alyssa Bellotti, who's going to play a beautiful instrumental for us tonight.
So I'm Valerie Tomford, the new music teacher, and I had the honor and pleasure of playing with Alyssa at the Micah Solo and Ensemble Festival, where she was awarded a gold medal for her performance and was also invited to perform at an honors concert at Pauling Church in Lexington. She'll be playing the first movement of Weber's Clarinet Concerto in F minor. Volume on the keyboard is a good idea.
my old advisory group where I see her playing games with me. Unbelievable, right? So, thank you. So now we have the other extreme. Our 8th graders this year work with the Shakespeare organization out of the Berkshires and learn a scene from Midsummer Night's Dream, and then we act out those scenes with the help of professional actors and actresses. And so we brought a little dramatic interpretation tonight with Mia and Lily. We're going to do their scene as they created it when they performed for us a couple months ago already. So I don't know, honey, do you want to go back there? Do you want to go here? What's best?
You can go here.
Over here? All right, great. Thanks.
The king doth keep his revels here tonight. Take heed, the queen come not within his sight, for over on his path he fell in wrath, because that she is her attendant hath. Oh, a lovely boy, stolen from an Indian king. She never had so sweet a change like.
Making quite, or you are that certain knavish right called Robin Goodfellow. Are not you he that frightens the maidens in the villagery? Those that hobnob and call you and sweet pup? You do thy work and they shall have good luck. Are not you he?
Thou speakest aright. I am the merry wonder of the night. I jest to Oberon and make him smile. When I have fattened beef and horse beguiled. Neighing in likeness of a filly foal, the wisest aunt telling the saddest tale. And sometimes for 3-foot stool mistaketh me. Then slip I from her bum, down topples she. And Taylor cries and lets out a cough, and then the whole choir hold their hips and laugh, and waxing in their mirth the knees and swear, a merrier hour was never wasted there. But Rune Fairy, here comes Oberon,
And here my mistress, whither he were gone.
Thank you so much. And we also have a group of our students here tonight with their Bay Area to talk about our Model UN organization, which is only in its second year of existence. Third year? Oh, wow, that would be fast. But amazing.
So Model UN is a group that meets Mondays during lunch and recess, and students get assigned countries. They do research on an assigned topic, so clean water, civil war in Syria, fighting terrorism, childhood hunger, refugee crises, and it's turned into a year-long event. We participated in, I think, 6 different events, and it also means that students are giving up 8 hours of a Saturday in addition to writing these research papers. So I'm going to ask Maggie Kalkstein and Aria Desai and Emma Tonys to talk a little bit about it. But before I hand it over to them, I want to recognize Aria, Emma, Elizabeth Schofield, who's not here tonight, Kylie Pietropalo, and Annika Lathrop, because they were the 5 that started the 6th graders when this was brand new, and now they're off, but we have almost 30 kids and 17 interested 5th graders for next year, which is really exciting. So, go ahead, guys.
So I'm Aria. I've been in Model UN since 6th grade, and that's when it kind of started. I remember going into the first meeting, and I was really nervous, and I was excited and nervous at the same time because I wanted to learn more about the world, and that's why I did Model UN. And I've had such a good experience in Model UN because it's taught me public speaking skills. It's taught me more about the world, and it's like crises and everything that's going on in it's taught me that I can do things to help even though I'm so young. And it's also given me friendships that I will probably never forget, just because at every conference we'd meet people, and then at the next conference we'd see them again, and then we'd recognize a familiar face. And it was just a really good experience, and I'm going to miss it so much next year. Oh yeah.
So I joined Model UN last year as a 6th grader, and I came into a group of kids who had done it before but were still kind of new with the concept. And not only have, over the past 2 years, I gotten to learn a lot about the world and its issues and how we can help resolve those issues, but I've also developed skills like public speaking, and more so than anything else, cooperation and teamwork, and how to compromise, and how to bring forth ideas in a way to work with others in a way that I don't think I could learn anywhere else. So I'm excited to continue it next year with a fresh group of kids looking for fun activities.
Yeah, I definitely agree. When we first started in 6th grade, it was definitely like going on a new experience that you wanted to try. But I'm really thankful that we did it because Model UN's not like anything else I've ever really experienced. I thought it would be like debate club or something, but it's something definitely different, and I'm really thankful because it taught me all these skills that you guys mentioned, like teamwork, public speaking, and how to write a paper. But I thought it was definitely worth it, and something like you said I'll never forget.
And I also want to say that we, this year, sort of a testament to the hard work, we won an award in every single conference. So we kicked off the year with 2 6th graders winning an award at a no preparation conference. So that was PJ Belize and Alexander Sproul. Then at MISMA, which has, I think, about 25 schools. Keep in mind that each committee gets 1 best delegate. We won 2 best delegates. And that sent us to Diamond, which is a December invitational. Alexander won Best Negotiator there, I think, and we won at Worcester Model UN and got recognized for Best Negotiator at the Commonwealth Model UN Conference as well. So these guys are rock stars.
So we've also invited some artists tonight, and Mrs. Levy's here to share some of their fabulous work and talk a little bit about some of the things that they've accomplished.
So we're not going to do as much talking. The work should speak for itself. So every year I am able to choose 6 students from our school to participate in Youth Art Month, which is held at the State Transportation Building in Boston, and it's hosted by the Massachusetts Art Education Association. There's over 600 participants, I think over 50 schools who participate, and I'd like to recognize the students who are the 6 students who participated in that awesome event, and that was this past March. So in grade 1 is, he's not here today, but tonight it's Renzo Ma, and his piece is called The Black Garden. It's a collage. And in grade 2, this is Chase Audette, and this is called The Starry Night on Halloween. And Chase can come up now and he can get his piece.
I remember seeing that at the transportation center.
That is so cool.
Great job. Potential mosquito.
Cynthia, these are for you. That's awesome.
In grade 3, this is Charlotte Daglish, and this is called Marble Mess. What a great title. Do you want me in the picture?
I
Yes.
do. Okay. Beautiful. Thank you.
Grade 5, this is James Michaud, and this is Mandala. This is chalk. Beautiful. And I wanted to acknowledge James because he is also a very talented engineer. We've been doing a treehouse project for the past few months with LED circuits, and he has like taught me things, so. So to be multi-talented, who so many of our students are. And, in grade 6, she's not here today. This is Sierra Lettieri, and beautiful ceramics mug, so we acknowledge her. Last but not least, special recognition in grade 4. This is Will Tatum, and he was chosen over 600 students to be represented at the Art Educators Convention in Seattle. So this piece traveled to Seattle, and he was the only grade 4 participant for the event. So, yeah. Congratulations to Will. And that's it. Thank you,
And then finally tonight, we have our duet with Emma Tony's and Isabella Simpson. We're going to sing for us, which is Tom Cruise and Assistance.
Emma and Isabella also participated in the Micah Solo and Ensemble Festival, and they also received a gold medal for their performance.
Just as I am, without one plea.
by that there isn't something happening in the hallways and in classes that just blows us all to pieces. And we're so thankful that we get to share in all of everyone's talents throughout the year. So thank you for coming out, everybody, tonight. And we're good to go, right? For another year.
So you may want to stay. I don't know whether you want to go, but we're going to have a short tribute to Carrie Wilson. This is Carrie's last school committee meeting as well in the service of Carlisle. And we're very despondent, might be a word. However, we have a great replacement here in Matt Mailer. Matt, stand up if people haven't met you. This is the new middle school principal. So some of us would like to say a few words. I will start with Ms. McMorrow.
Oh,
She seemed eager.
yes, I studied. Well, Carrie, I am very honored to be here to be able to say a few words in appreciation for you. And in thinking about how to convey all of this appreciation for all that you've contributed to Carlisle community, I started writing down the words that come to mind when I think of Carrie. Professional in good times, but more importantly in challenging times. Dedicated to her profession, dedicated to students, dedicated to faculty and staff. Collaborative, energetic, motivational, motivated, intelligent, master of her craft, innovative, and because of all this, she inspires respect. We're so fortunate to have had you here with us for 3 years. You are not afraid to sing people's praises, and you are not afraid to point out where we could do better. And most importantly, you are not afraid to do the work needed for us to do better. And you are always willing to take on a new project, a new program, or a new curriculum, or whatever comes down the pike. And here are some of those things that you have brought to Carlisle with your energy and all these other qualities. Challenge success, Olveus, although I still have trouble pronouncing it. And I know I spelled it wrong on this sheet. All of those curriculum changes, reinvigoration of the 8th grade graduation week, the character trait of the month, Carlisle chatter, for those of you who get the weekly principal emails, that was Carrie who started that. 8th grade transition enhancements. And here is the icing on the cake. Carrie, you accomplished the impossible in Carlisle. You brought the Washington, D.C. trip to Carlisle. And that was a feat that eluded many of our strongest parental advocates for years. So that is quite impressive. And even as I talk to you now, you're still thinking of things that could be done on your way out the door. I love that, now that I'm not in the school committee, I can say this. I love that area for the middle school kids that you mentioned in the mosquito. So anyway, now I need my glasses. You understand that you have to walk the walk and not just talk the talk. And you do it daily, seamlessly, and seemingly effortlessly. So thank you for setting a high bar for all of us and inspiring others to follow you. You don't always find these qualities in one administrator, and we are so fortunate to have found you. So thank you.
Others in the audience, is there anyone who would like to say anything before I turn to school committee? Okay. Nancy, you have anything? How about,
Love you, Carrie.
you don't have to, right?
Well,
You
no,
have prepared remarks.
I do want to also say thank you to Carrie, and, you know, the things that Melissa mentioned, I've been thinking about those as well, and, you know, and also the ways that you've changed and transformed the school over the last 3 years, just as far as the environment for the students and the climate, and those changes are going to be, the things that you brought will be lasting. You know, these are going to, you've left your mark here, and those will carry forward all of those, you know, positive things. So I wanted to say thank you.
I first got to work with Carrie through the PTO, and from the first time I sat in her office and met with her, I was stunned, Carrie, because you were fearless in making change that you knew had to be made for the good. And so we didn't have to process a lot of things and take a lot of time to make a lot of good things happen, even in that first year. And as an individual, I've been able to be my daughter's been the beneficiary of your global scope on the school and what was right for her and all the things that were available to her in middle school, and she's had a fantastic year. You knew that before I did, and I imagine you've done this for many, many, many other families, so thank you.
I want to say a personal thank you for always looking out for your students and really putting the best effort to support them emotionally, educationally in our school, create an environment that is friendly to all of the kids and inclusive to all of our students. That's very, very unique to our school, and you will be greatly missed. And the new person has very big shoes to fill. Thank you so much.
Carrie, strong work. We're going to miss you here. You've left. You're leaving this district, but you're leaving it. It's better for your presence, better for you having served for us, and thank you for your service.
I have multiple opportunities to say, but I did write a few words out. So Carrie's career spanned 4 decades, encompassed 3 states, and touched the lives of thousands of children and families. And we here at Carlisle are lucky to have had you for the past 3 years. And I think a couple of other themes that come up is she is an amazing educator focused on student development and well-being. She's exceptional at developing strong, positive, productive relationships with students, staff, and families. And she's a strong advocate for students. Always willing to go the extra mile to ensure that our students are well supported, and she likes to say wrapped up. She likes to make sure they're wrapped up and taken care of, and that's always been something that touched me. Anyone who's been fortunate enough to work with her knows that she is a tireless worker with a get-it-done mentality. Something needs to be done, she will get to work and get it done. Now the mentality piece is, there's a certain mentality that is there too, which means she's always willing to go the extra mile for our students, and whether it's getting duct taped to the wall, or whether it's spending the night on the roof, like Carrie's always willing to do whatever it takes to bring the community together and support the students. So we have been lucky to have you for the past 3 years, and been fortunate, and you will be missed. Thank you. And I'll have more to say tomorrow.
Yeah, sure.
And I think the faculty will say their piece at their farewell for you.
Certainly will.
Yes, so I'd like to give a little personal history to express my admiration for what Carrie's accomplished. When Joyce Mahaffey replaced Marie Doyle as superintendent of Carlisle Schools, Joyce was already the middle school principal. At that time, I was on the finance committee, and the town was under severe budget pressure. And I personally worked with the school committee to actually eliminate the position of middle school principal in an effort to save costs. So we had Joyce, she did both jobs. Joyce was able to do both jobs seamlessly, and she also built a new school building in the process. So she was extremely capable. When she retired and Joan Wickman was recruited, we kept that system in place. And so Joan took the same role as both middle school principal and superintendent. But over that time, the demands of running a high-performing district in the Commonwealth got more and more. There were district-determined measures, and there were all these things. And it became apparent after a while that it was too much for one person. And Joan actually came up with what I thought was a pretty innovative approach. She thought a kind of private school model, she would separate student issues from curriculum and learning. And so she proposed that we do add a person, but that we make the current principal, Dennett, the dean of students, of all students, and then a separate job for dean of curriculum. So I thought that was, wow, that's pretty interesting. So we soft rolled that to the faculty, and we ran into a buzzsaw. And I was a freshman school committee member by that time, and I learned firsthand a lot about, really, I don't think I personally appreciated the difference between a principal and a superintendent in one building district. It was all just administrative stuff. And I really learned through that process, listening to the teachers, that the needs are quite different, and that running a middle school is very different than running an elementary school. And my children at that point were not yet. My oldest was not yet in the middle school. But in any case, we agreed to walk back the two-role model, and we began a recruitment that resulted in Carrie becoming the principal. And I do have to give kudos to Joan Wickman, who ran that process, an absolutely outstanding result. So Carrie came in, a lot of what I say now will echo what you've heard, but Carrie came in with a mix of experience and energy and immediately highlighted the need for increased focus on social and emotional learning. Her gentle but firm approach, best practices philosophy, and high standards have had a tremendous impact on the way Carlisle views middle school education. Educating 11 to 14-year-olds in a high-performing school means working through the emotions of adolescence while ramping up the pace of learning. A K-8 school can provide a nurturing and familiar environment, but it's sort of like having teenagers at home. They enjoy having dinner on the table, but they want to make their own decisions. Carrie understands this and has leveraged the best of the K-8 continuum with a fresh perspective on the freedom to expand both academic and non-academic horizons and letting the students make independent choices. I believe this entire school has become a more robust and better place to learn as a result. So we will miss you, Carrie, but as others have said, what you've started will continue to grow. The faculty, Matt, Jim, and the school committee are all committed to the mission of educating the complete person. You've shown us a path forward, and as a town and district, we thank you. More than that, you've taught me a lot personally, and as a student of the educational process and a middle school parent, I thank you.
Thank you so much.
And I think we have some gifts. Or gifts. Yeah, sure, yes. This was actually Melissa's idea. And what we have is the legendary Take to the Wall. And people are encouraged, anyone here is encouraged to sign it, and then I think it's going to be mounted somewhere for further signatures. So before you take it, I will leave it here.
Oh, I heard it.
The expression, I don't know if you can replicate the expression.
Probably not.
Priceless.
So anyway, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I don't know who you're talking about up here, but I'm here for the love of kids, and I'm so lucky to fall into it.
It was a great capstone to your career. Thank you for coming.
Appreciate it. And I'll toast to you in the fall in my beach chair.
Leave it, we'll get it to you.
Got it,
Don't
all
worry.
right, thank you.
You'll get
Thank
it with
you
a lot
so
more
much.
signatures now.
Thanks.
Okay, and now.
Can I also point out
yes,
that I
sure.
think the PTO is hosting a reception
Yes.
after school on
We are.
Thursday, June 21st. So everyone's invited to wish Carrie and Kathy Horan, who's also retired, a fond farewell and
Yeah.
demonstrate their appreciation. So
And,
everyone's invited.
and RSVP to Kerry Patel at the PTO. There should be, you should have an email on that.
So you'll have an easier time next year because Carrie Patel's emails and my emails will get swapped out. And there's no Matt, nothing, you know.
That's how I met Carrie Patel.
Yeah.
Okay. And now we have a gift from the Early Act.
Oh, yes.
Carrie's back.
Carrie, you're
Am I
back.
doing it? Okay. Is Emma still here? Oh, yeah. Come on up, Emma. So,
The all-purpose middle school.
So one of the best things that I've seen happen in the last few years has been the growth of the Early Act organization, which is pretty much everybody that's in the room too as well. The organization, I think, sort of started with the current junior class? Freshman class. Yeah, all right. As those students were in 6th grade, it swelled into a rather large and very important organization to us here at school. Joined in with the Rotary, the local Rotary Club has really embodies what we believe in terms of community service and give back and embracing each other's commitment to us as students of the earth. And these guys have spearheaded amazing initiatives. They've connected with communities all over the world. They've done an amazing amount of work to gather money, including throwing some of us on the roof, but that's beside the point. which we did willingly, except for the mosquitoes. And I can't say enough about how this whole program has grown and how we encourage all of our students to get involved with it. Nowhere have I ever worked where tons of students show up at 5 minutes of 7 on a Friday morning, every Friday morning at 5 minutes of 7, with a beautiful breakfast and ready to go and tackle that community work. But they're there, and I'm glad, always happy to see you. So they're here tonight to offer a tribute to their work and in the Early Act organization to the school system in the form of a tree.
Yes.
And a nice little plaque that as the tree grows, so will our community service grow. So,
Well, I don't know if it'll be a plaque exactly.
oh, okay,
A
it's a
stone.
tree.
A tree, exactly.
I got the tree right?
Yeah, a
All
tree.
right.
So
All right.
right outside the parking lot.
Yeah, somewhere, yeah.
Yeah, around there.
Did you want to say anything, or are you good?
Oh, but well,
Or
the
anyone
early
wants to
act.
say anything?
If you guys want to help too, the early act. I think this like tribute was just to thank the school for their like countless and endless support of our like new club, because it was hard to get it going, but it's easier when the school's like behind you and supporting you the whole way and willing to duct tape themselves on the wall and sleep on the roof. So that's our thank you to you. And it's from the class of last year as well. So they raised the money for the tree, and our class this year merely planted the tree. So yeah. Thank you.
And now Linda, would you like to come up? Sure. Okay, Linda's going to present, and I just moved, note to the school committee, sort of a late entrant to a very busy agenda, so the agreement is she's going to present, but we're not going to deliberate what she's going to present today. We will have time over the next meetings.
We'll do this, you two, I will do it. And if you want people to skedoodle at this moment,
No,
that'd be
no,
great.
I mean, people are,
It's a public meeting, of course.
We all love you, it's great. Kiddos want to go home, go to bed.
people want, right. Thank you. The fun part of the
Thank you
meeting.
so much, congratulations.
Thank you, everyone.
I don't know what we're gonna do without you. Stacey, you good morning, bud.
Rachel, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye now.
See you tomorrow.
Mustafi's on camera.
Yeah, the whole family. Well,
One of them,
almost.
one of them needs the manual camera, because we have Linda coming.
You don't need that.
Come on up.
Almost 30.
Hi. So thank you for giving me
Sure.
a
Have a
little bit
seat.
of time.
Right.
Oh, that's okay.
All right.
I'm here to request your acceptance of the creation of a unit B for our educational support staff under the umbrella of the Carlisle Teachers Association. We've had strong interest from our educational support staff, including our paraprofessionals, secretaries, custodians, and our dining room staff, to become part of our association. We hope you'll recognize this new unit as part of the CTA at your next school committee meeting. And thank you.
Okay.
Easy.
Thank you. Thank you very
Let me
much.
sit first, and then we'll.
Okay.
Better.
And now it's time for the annual superintendent evaluation. And remind me how we run this. I read the summary of the numbers, is that what? The chair recognizes.
I think you just go with, sorry,
Yeah.
you go with like, there were 5 professionals there.
The superintendent evaluation is the culmination of charting of the entire year's work, which begins with the goal-setting exercise. First, the school committee and the school have their goals, or the district rather, and then from that, the superintendent has his goals, and goals flow from that. DESE, the Department of Education and Secondary, Elementary and Secondary Education, has guidelines, and they require some goals to be explicit among the professional practice but then they're fairly unspecific about the rest of it, although they do have a template that we try to follow, which can get somewhat granular. And then at the end, there are summative comments, and I will have each member directly say his or her comments. And Melissa's here because she was on the committee during this last year that was just concluded. And Melinda was only here for one, now 2 of those meetings. So generally, that's how we do it. The first goal is professional practice. And what Jim had set for himself is communications as an important part. And he said, well, you can read your own. Why don't you read your own?
So the goal, I stated, communication is an integral part of the work of a superintendent. Is it there?
Yeah, that one.
While I worked to be an effective communicator during this past year, I have also identified a number of areas where my communication engagement could and should be better. This year I will focus on improving my communication with a concentration of 3 key areas: communication engagement with the members of the Carlisle School Committee, internal communication with the faculty and staff, and my external communication with the broader Carlisle community.
And when Jim says this year I will focus, that's what you said at the beginning of the year, right?
September, yes.
So we're evaluating him on how he did. The rubric that DESE has 5 categories. Did not meet the goals, some progress towards the goals, significant progress towards the goals, met the goals, and exceeded the goals. And the 3 of us put significant progress, as Jim himself has self-identified, and 2 said he met the goals. The second one is student learning. Go ahead, Jim.
Student climate is a major contributor to the overall experience of our students and their families. Ensuring that we maintain a caring, kind, and inclusive environment for all students is essential to a positive school climate. My student learning goal for 2017-18 school year will focus on the school-wide implementation of the Obeas Anti-Bullying Program and the introduction of a diversity-focused instruction for students in 7th and 8th grade, both of which are designed to positively impact our school.
And the scoring was 2 members said that Jim had made significant progress on the student learning goal. 3 of us said that he met that goal. We then go into a section. So those are the 2 major personal goals that Jim had set. And then we go into a slightly more granular district improvement goals, which the district goals are fairly well known. We've been discussing them for months now. And the evaluation is essentially how Jim did as the leader towards those specific goals. And so the first one is to provide a rich, rigorous, and relevant curriculum. And Jim, you can read the...
So we have 3 overarching objectives here, and underneath each objective there are a number of initiatives. So the first one is provide a rich, rigorous, and relevant curriculum, which ensures students develop academic and intellectual skills along with the social and emotional competence to be confident, engaged, and successful global citizens in the 21st century.
And the scoring were that 2 members said that Jim had made significant progress, and 3 that he had met that goal. Next goal, Jim?
The second goal is build a community of respect and inclusion in a safe and healthy learning environment. I'll repeat some of the similar words. Build a community of inclusion which embraces and celebrates diversity, where all students feel known, cared for, welcome, respected, and enjoy their educational experience.
And 1 said significant progress, 3 that he met the goal, and 1 that he exceeded the goal. And finally?
Then the final one is ensure equity and excellence in learning. Ensure that all students have access to high-quality content and instruction that is differentiated to meet their individual needs, while providing the academic, social, and emotional supports required to ensure success for all students.
And 2 said that he made significant progress, and 3 that he met the goal. So very good score. Now, a question. Is this the evaluation itself is a public document? What,
It will,
including
there's a typo. It will be.
And also, there was a part that I sent that's missing from the...
Okay. And the individual, is there also how each
This
committee
is
member-
the
This is
combined
the public
document is
document, yeah.
the review, and it actually basically has everything that the individuals have.
So the next section I won't read specifically because it's very granular in terms of details on curriculum, instruction, assessment, evaluation, decision-making. But suffice it to say that almost completely everyone rated Jim as proficient. And this is a slightly different scale where the categories are unsatisfactory, needs improvement, proficient, and exemplary. Proficient sounds like a B, but it's really a very good score. I mean, it means that you know your job. And I would just say that Jim, in his second year in, is basically demonstrating that he is proficient. And then finally, there is the overall rating, and again, the same scale, and we all rated Jim as proficient, so no issue there. And then it's time for the individual summative comments. Oh, is that, did I miss? Oh, I'm sorry, did I miss something?
But,
Okay.
we have more comments.
There are more comments later. Good. Okay, I don't get myself confused. So, Christine, you want to read your comment?
Sure. Superintendent, this is on, for the overall rating. Okay, so Superintendent O'Shea demonstrates a daily commitment to the above goals established for the 2017-18 academic year. He provides student, faculty, and staff with an excellent example of professionalism while also creating positive, engaged atmosphere that encourages connection with him from both issues of concern and general congeniality. In speaking with Superintendent O'Shea, he shared a story where a student sneaked into his office and asked if he could sit. Sorry. Yeah. We're just seeing if you're reading it, kids.
I didn't know what that meant.
It was sneaked. Anyway, Mr. O'Shea,
Snuck, I think.
welcome.
He wrote ducked. Whatever.
Snuck.
Oh, ducked, that's what it was. Welcome.
Ducked. Oh.
Ducked. Mr. O'Shea welcomed the student knowing it was indoor recess, but clarified he could not chat because he had work to do. The student understood and couldn't help but talk. Sincerely having work to do, he reminded the student that he was welcome to stay, but he could not chat. Jim proceeded with his work while the student sat until it was time to go back to class. This to me says the student felt comfortable and sees Jim as a friend as well as a superintendent. I love that story.
And
Which all the students really know.
Josh?
Jim has improved, I spoke about the practice goals in communication. Jim has improved his communication, evidenced by his weekly updates on Fridays. To the extent that communication is regular, little stands out. I would like to see a greater diversity of communication means, with application of emphasis where appropriate. Not everything is of equal importance. Also, providing communication in summary form with opportunities for detailed follow-up can improve effectiveness. Further went on to say, I recognize and welcome Jim's focus on the social-emotional aspects of development.
So I misspoke at the beginning. This section has to do with the standard of instructional leadership, which is for a superintendent more of the, obviously, administrative piece of that. The next section is management and operations. And again, there are a variety of subcategories: environment, human resources, scheduling, MIS, law, ethics, policies, fiscal systems. And generally speaking, again, Jim was rated as proficient. Typically, maybe in one or the other, there might be someone who would point out a need for improvement. And I will ask.
I had comments too that were not included, but I'd like to read them.
If you'd like to read it, okay.
Right.
Is MS actually MM?
It's Mary Stores.
Oh, Mary Stores. Oh, sorry.
Josh, I printed out what you sent me. Do you want to see?
I have it here.
He's got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead, Josh. Read it.
So I gave a needs improvement on the 2C, scheduling management information systems, uses systems to ensure optimal use of data and time for teaching, learning, and collaboration, minimizing distractions. So my comments on that were, consider how easy it is for a parent to answer the following questions. My child said they needed more money on their lunch account. I forgot the name of the service. I type lunch account in the search on the website, but get nothing useful. Where do my children need to be and when? Where do I as a parent need to be and when? Knowing general schedule for school events is not what is needed. Customized delivery of schedules is. What permissions need to be granted for my child to participate in events and when? What fees do I need to send to for what purpose and when? All of these should be better managed through use of technology. I understand that efforts are underway to research and select new software. I hope that these efforts will address these needs.
On a similar note, Mary Stores also had a needs improvement in some areas that I would like Jim to take on a stronger leadership role when it comes to some of the more mundane tasks required of a superintendent, particularly budget development, mandates, policies, and staff development. And then Christine, you have a few comments as well.
As each of these areas of responsibility presented themselves throughout the academic year, Superintendent O'Shea demonstrated a confidence and comfort in the information that in turn allowed the school committee to progress onto other tasks. Jim shows reliable capabilities in all these areas.
The third standard, I think there are only four. The third of the four standards is called Family and Community Engagement, and again, overwhelmingly rated proficient and one exemplary in these categories. And I will read Mary Store's comment. Jim is very comfortable engaging with students, family, and staff. His weekly updates to the school committee have been helpful. And Christine?
One of Superintendent O'Shea's apparent strengths is his ability to collaborate and engage with stakeholders. He is often seen at weekend off-campus events engaging with students and families. He doesn't just show up, he's an active supporter of so many of our students' endeavors. He sincerely cares about our children and the experience with CPS, and it shows.
I agree with that. You're a great community participant. The final standard is professional culture, and these are things like commitment to high standards, communication, continuous learning, shared vision, managing conflict. Once again, almost uniformly proficient in all categories. Mary Stores did have a comment. I would like to see Jim's strong leadership in formulating a strategic vision for the district. My sense is that he avoids conflict and may need to be more proactive at addressing and resolving issues rather than letting them linger. And Christine, to offset that comment?
This is another area where Jim's strengths shine through. While he is warm and sincerely friendly, it is not at the expense of high expectations or important information for his stakeholders. His approachability translates to an open environment that invites trust. Jim is able to build relationships and establish a style that makes correction more guidance than punitive. He exemplifies the core values, making it easy for him to expect them from everyone at the school.
The next phase of the evaluation is the summative report, which rolls up all of these. Now, we've already reported on the individual goals for his professional practice goal, which is the communication and student learning goal, and the district improvement, and the four standards. And so we roll it up into one big ball, and 4 of the 5 of us rated Jim as proficient. Again, proficient is a very good score. 1 exemplary. And there's one more evaluation, which is rate impact on student learning, which we really don't quite understand, but I'm led to believe it's mandatory to rate. I don't quite get how a superintendent is evaluated on his or her impact on student learning. But
Is that why that was grayed out?
what? I don't get it. We're supposed to, because
That section was great.
So the very first time we had it, we didn't have to fill it out, but
No,
I think I went back and read the instructions and it's required.
So Josh still has to fill his out, but we had 3 that said he had a high impact on student learning and 1 moderate. And I'm the moderate, and it's only because I don't really think that a superintendent has a direct impact. He leads by example, he leads from a strategic standpoint, but he's not teaching, so I don't get it.
Who does Jim want to say anything about how
I will say, I think the impact is usually it's through principals, working with teachers, working with students.
through leadership?
Yes.
Okay, well, in that case, I will change my score. You've convinced me. Okay, so change my die. And now we have summative comments. And Melissa, would you like to lead?
Sure. Thank you, Jim, for your commitment to the students of Carlisle. In particular, I want to highlight the work you do on a daily basis to ensure that the Carlisle School is a place where students are excited to be and excited to learn. And I may have even written this before you slept on the roof. You have created an excellent student culture I also want to highlight the work you have done to build a strong relationship with Superintendent Hunter in Concord. I had a front row seat to that, and it was wonderful to see. Strong communication between the two school system administrators benefits students and the Carlisle community. I encourage you to continue moving up the steep superintendent learning curve and focusing on long-term vision, fiscal sustainability, accountability, procedures, and policies. While not always the most recognized work, it is essential to the district.
Christine?
Superintendent O'Shea demonstrates full commitment to our district and everyone in it. He respects our students, establishing a rapport that engages them in positive relationships that enhance our learning environment. He works diligently with staff and faculty to establish high expectations and then provides the guidance and support to help them achieve them. That's poorly written. He embraces opportunities to engage with the school community during and outside of school.
Josh?
Jim's excellent work in the district over the past 2 years has earned him the trust and goodwill of many stakeholders. Now the question becomes, what will Jim do with that goodwill? How will he use that goodwill to build support for and to realize his vision for the district?
Mary wrote, "It is a pleasure to work with Jim. He always has a positive attitude and a willingness to listen. I think that Jim enjoys many of the tasks that fall in the principal's purview, but I'd like to see him focus more on the superintendent role and rely on his administrative team, particularly the principals, to carry out their responsibilities. I look forward to a productive 2018-2019 school year with Jim at the helm." And then my comments are, Jim had an excellent second year as superintendent. He laid out ambitious goals for himself and the district and has made significant progress in achieving those goals. Communication with the school committee and the community has increased. It needs to be more interactive and deeper than an informational download. Oveus appears to be quite successful, but the proof will be in the year-over-year student surveys. Deepening the curricula for the 21st century in the areas of technology, languages, and social studies remains a work in progress. Where Jim should put additional effort in the coming years is in a more effective tiered support for non-IEP students, more effective use of staff with all students, and continued efforts to reduce the need for out-of-district placements of students with IEPs. The budget challenges facing all educators, as well as those facing the town of Carlisle, are growing greater. If we want to maintain CPS's leadership in all areas, we will need to be more creative in how we deploy the resources available to us. Nevertheless, Jim has demonstrated proficiency on the job in 2 short years. I encourage him to continue to work with his MASS mentor, as well as the Carlisle School Committee and the larger Carlisle community, to grow into the truly excellent leader I know he can become. So, is that it?
Did you say we need signatures on all these? I think we just did some.
Just did, but I think we all individually should sign your individual ones. Okay.
All right. And you have anything you'd like to reflect on?
No, I would just like to say thank you for acknowledging and appreciating the work I have done, and thank you for the feedback and pointing out those areas in which I know I can grow. So that's really the most helpful part of the process, so thank you for that open, honest feedback.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Jen.
Yeah, thank you very
Pleasure to
much.
work with you. Excellent.
I really appreciate it.
Okay. Budget, Susan, would you like to walk us through the budget at the end of the year?
Sure, I've put at each of your seats the budget update at this point in June. We always work toward the end of June, closing out any purchase orders that we've encumbered through the year, making sure we pay 12 months of all utilities, all leases, anything that we have regular payments for. We're also doing the prepay for out-of-district for the unanticipated that came up for next year. And we have a little money left. We've done pre-buying of supplies for next year, and we have a little money left for those, we have a few purchase orders or wishes that we hold on to see if we have funds. So we're in excellent shape and very pleased at what we could do to help with
We
the,
voted these transfers already.
Yes, you
Take care of
did.
the negatives. And
because we were able to manage more of the prepays. But
Are we doing
the,
another set of transfers? or-
no, no,
We're all set.
So to the question, to the extent that we end up favorable, can we use that to prepay any of our other expenses such that the other budget challenges we know are coming next year can be offset?
so two things we typically prepay to offset. Out-of-district tuition, which we were able to help ease that pain, and supplies. We're not allowed by law to like pay more gas, more electric. We can pay 12 payments, 12 months, and it's watched with an eagle eye here and at the town hall. Same with leases. You know, if we have copier leases or something like that.
So some things we can and some we can't.
Correct. But what we can do is, you know, like, we buy our paper for the district at one full swoop and hope that 5 pallets will do for the year.
It's a lot.
Used to be 7 to 9 until we minimized our printing through devices. So I'm really pleased with how that's gone down.
Good. You've done a good job managing the budget, as usual. Thank you.
I have to say, as I listened to Jim's evaluation, we worked very closely, and David, you know, you as well. It was a team effort.
Thank you very much. Okay, Jim, new hire for school nurse.
So as we communicated earlier before the meeting, the school nurse position is one of those positions that the state has recommended gets the endorsement of the school committee. So I am moving forward the name of Lauren Sawyer as a recommended person to take that role on for next year. Lauren has a BA in psychology from the University of Mass at Amherst. She's got a BS in nursing from the Mass College of Pharmacy. She's got a Master's of Science in nursing from UMass Amherst. She went through the interview process, met with a team of interviewers, parents, teachers, administrators, made it through that process, and was one of 2 finalists, and she was the finalist for the position. So I'd like to recommend her. She's got probably 8 years of experience as a school nurse, experience in an emergency. Yeah, she's in Wachusett presently. She's got experience in an urgent care setting, in a hospital setting. So I think we all feel very confident when we're name forward.
Where does she live?
That's a good question. I think she's in Townsend. She moved to Townsend.
Other than the Wachusett experience, does she have any pediatric training?
Pediatric training?
Training in pediatrics or?
You said she was a school nurse?
Yeah.
For how long?
7 years. But you're asking about
Specific training in pediatrics.
I do not have that information.
And what type of school district was it that she?
So it's a pre-K through 12. She's been there for 7 years. She's been in a variety of positions. She's actually kind of floating. So sometimes she's in the elementary, she can be in middle, she can be in
As a nurse.
As a nurse, yeah.
Does her resume say what she kind of, any specialization for her nursing education?
No specializations listed for her nursing education.
I love that she has psychology in her background.
Who was there an interview committee or?
Yeah, there was a committee. I think it was Will, Dennett, Lori DeJarnes, Linda was probably present. Linda, can you tell me who else was on the initial interview committee?
Yes, Lynn Carlisle, another Linda, member of the community.
Kathy Horan was not.
No.
Lori DeJarnes was?
Yes.
Carrie Patel was on the committee?
Yes. Yep.
So Linda, since you were on the committee, you want to say anything about the selection?
I really felt a sense of calm with her, and I think she's just going to be a wonderful addition to our staff. You're welcome.
Okay, and we are going to have a motion in the action items to waive our normal process of deliberating for a month on this because we need to decide.
I'd like to notify her.
We'd like to notify her. Okay, Any more questions on the nurse? And then we'll take a vote at the vote time.
I have one more question. Were there any community parent physicians on the committee to select the nurse?
Carrie Patel is a nurse.
Okay.
EMT.
Okay, Nancy, you are putting forward a proposed meeting schedule for the next academic year?
You can't do the 14th of November.
You know that already.
It's my daughter's birthday.
Bring her. I used to bring my kids all the time.
I don't think that's a present.
You can share cake with us.
Sorry.
My kids
it's
grew up
funny
on committee meetings.
moment. Sorry.
Okay. I think we don't have to vote on this now, so take the schedule. I think if we have one person who can't make it, it's probably okay, but if we get two, we should reschedule. That would be nice. So we'll take that up.
Thank you for
We can wait about that. We also have a proposed summer meeting. Now typically, the summer meeting is one where we don't have a set agenda. We try to, it's still a public meeting, but we try to limit, we prefer that it just be a chance to chat about strategic things. I've got a few things on my mind that I want to talk about, others may as well. And we typically, bring dinner, we sort of share potluck, is that
Yeah, I wasn't there last year, but that's what you guys told me.
or we go take out.
Mary picked something.
Indian food.
We got Indian food, which you can do.
I'll have a bologna sandwich.
So you proposed July 16th?
Yeah, everyone.
That's probably
everyone
one,
gave
we
me
don't have to
feedback.
vote that, so that's probably one that the people, everyone's been already alerted.
Yep.
And that is conflict free?
I'm not sure.
Okay, so I guess that's, we will need, so we still have to post it, right?
It's already posted.
Still fine.
Very good. Okay. Communications and correspondence?
I believe the only correspondence we have is the legislative bulletin from MASC.
I know Josh is anxious to do that.
I think everyone gets it in their house.
I was asked to bring the information regarding the ideas forum for the master plan steering committee
Oh,
for
okay.
Carlisle. I know that there are probably delegates already from the school
You
we're
sent me
planning to
that.
go. It's Monday, June 18th,
Yeah.
in the school cafeteria from 6 to 8. And it's the kickoff sort of for the ideas, it's an ideas planning session.
So is this coming Monday?
It is
Yeah.
June 18th.
Okay.
Yeah, and I didn't bring a flyer, but I can get that to you, and so,
I think there was Linda, town hall, which was Fantasia, didn't she put it, no one else had it over here? Maybe not, maybe just someone.
I'm not sure, but
There was
this
a
is
note.
Jan Corneal is the chair of the master plan steering committee. We'd like to get representation from the school,
Do you
you know,
wanna-
and
do you
get
wanna do it?
as much participation. I plan to be there already,
Right.
have a few different hats, and we looking at, pathways and
Okay.
things like that, so,
Good.
Yeah, so I plan to be there also.
okay.
And I think it's going out in the blast on Friday to the parents, just to.
Right, because this is, everyone is welcome from the community. It's part of, envisioning for the future of Carlisle, so.
I'm going to try to come. I can't make a promise, but I'm going to try.
Good. Okay, superintendent's report?
So the, it seemed better to say this a month and a half, so the last day of school is still June 27th.
A half day.
It is a half day. I sent a reminder out because we had 2 half days listed as
Yeah.
potential, so it's still the 27th. World Language Committee just completed its last meeting of the year yesterday. Earlier this year, we had parents take a survey around a couple of points. We'll be summarizing that and getting the survey out to parents by the end of this week, just to keep them up to date. But the survey also opened up some more areas of information for us to look at, especially with regard to the design of our world language program. So we'll be working on that for next year. Just an announcement, the PTO, as you may or may not be aware, has a new president. So Carrie Patel, who served on the interview committee for nurses, is also the new president. They had their new campus coffee this month. Thank you to Marie-Laure Riviere and Annie Lutman, who coordinated the Multicultural Festival for this year. So that's great. They've taken that on. I think they're going to take that and run with it, and Chalmers may support that next year. She's also got her own Chinese New Year in the works, so we were just pleased that it was so successful this year, so thank you to them. Strategic planning sessions have wrapped up at CCHS, so I know, Christine, you were involved for a couple of sessions, Melissa was involved, but they've been working on their strategic planning and visioning, and that's come to an end for the committee, and now their leadership team is going to be processing the data they have. So we'll keep them informed as that moves forward. Also, over the past few weeks, it's just been an incredible amount of activity, as there usually is at the end of the year. So we got to hear band and chorus performances here. There were incredible performances over the last 2 weeks. We had a wonderful Memorial Day ceremony. You saw Lily Quivinen present. Her and Emma Ely coordinated our Memorial Day ceremony. This past 2 weeks ago, before the CCHS graduation, we had, for the first time, we welcomed our CCHS alumni back after...
For the first time?
I think this is Mary coordinated. I think Concord has done it in the past, but for the first time, we had a little reception after school.
When was that?
This was 3 weeks ago, I think.
After they get back from college and stuff?
No, this was for the high school graduates.
Oh.
Like senior week.
Oh, nice.
They came back and there was a little reception. It was still working logistics, so some of the teachers were available, some teachers weren't available. It's a nice idea that we'll continue to work on, but that was Mary's doing there. So thank you to Mary.
Mary's doors?
Yes.
Oh, awesome.
So also this year,
Great picture of her and Teddy and the
That's right. Yeah.
CCHS has this day called the Thrifty Day of Service, where their seniors also go out and do service in the community. So it was wonderful. We had a number of students came here and worked in the first grade in the classrooms and did some activities with the students outside. We also had a number of students showed up and did some work on the grounds, which was much appreciated because our custodial staff is down because of some injuries and ailments. So that was much appreciated. What else do we have? So the 8th grade, they're slowly progressing towards the culminating event of their season, which will be June 22nd, Friday night. So they've had their trips into Boston for the aquarium and going to the dinner cruise at the Spirit of Boston. Again, it's really wonderful that they have these last moments together to really build that camaraderie before they move on to whether it's high school at CCHS or somewhere else, and just those memories they'll have for the lifetime. So that's pretty exciting for them. And that, again, we recognize Carrie's work in coordinating that, and the 8th grade teachers who are there to support all of that taking place. Field days, we've already had our middle school and elementary field days. This Monday night, Early Act, we heard a little about Early Act. They had their evening, which incorporates both their work in support of Razi's Ray of Hope and the 6th grade presentation, so those two are intermingled together. I wish I could have been there, that was wonderful. 4th grade state fair program, that was always interesting. Then we have a variety of field trips. Stone Zoo.
Tomorrow is PM, Peabody Essex.
Peabody Essex, the Concord Museum. We have our students that go into a variety of activities. It's wonderful to see them out and engaged in just whether it's Clark Farm or the museums. Then on Monday, June 18th, we have an award called the Lillian Award. You're probably aware of this. It's an award that goes out to a teacher and a student every year, and just recognizes someone who's kind and helpful and supportive. It's around this idea of, it's like you're just a wonderful person and we want to recognize you. So that's going to take place. Students and teachers get to nominate people, and then those commissioners from the Carlisle Commission choose who's going to be recognized, and usually it's evident based on the write-ups that we get. So it's wonderful. That's going to be June 18th at a special assembly, recognition assembly. We mentioned the reception for Carrie and Kathy that's taking place. And at this point, we're in the process of doing two things. Closing down this year with regard to evaluation processes and getting these in order. And as we saw tonight, gathering some of that feedback that's going to help us build our goals for next year, whether it's the progress we made on strategic planning, on our strategic initiatives, or like the evaluation tonight, taking those points of the areas for work and crafting the program for next year and how we're going to make progress.
I think that's a good point, and I haven't spent time really thinking it through yet, but one of the things we should do at the summer meeting is talk about our goals for the coming year, right? That's kind of the main purpose of it. So be thinking about those, please. So one thing you mentioned, it just struck me, because next week I'm actually going to my sort of high school, grade school, it was a K through 12 school, reunion. Do we ever have reunion, you know, it was sparked by your comment about the high school is coming up. Do we ever have a reunion? Like just ask, you know, have alumni come back at some event? Just,
Not that I'm aware of.
kind of interesting. I mean, people do have a lot of emotional loyalty to.
Bring all the
School.
paperwork back with you.
Well, it's.
They'll build it for you.
I mean, it's not. It's yes. It's contacting people. It's a lot easier these days than in the old days, right?
Yeah.
Because of emails. But I don't know. It's just a thought thing. It builds. You know, people that I talk to who live generally they live locally. If I'm talking to them, who went to the school are still pretty loyal and fond of the school. Yeah, you're saying yeah? Okay, good. We get that.
You're saying we should do that?
Mustafa and
Are you willing to step forward and take that on as the chair of the committee?
community service.
He'll put it together
Let me
tonight.
ask, would the focus more be about see the old teachers, see what's happened to the facility, stuff like that? Or would it be see your old friends and what happened to
It's
them?
a
Yes.
combination of that, you know, I mean, a good
Because
reunion.
you might structure it differently depending on
Well,
which
right,
of those
I mean,
objectives
actually,
you're trying to achieve.
you know, I mean, a good reunion, if it's run well at, you know, private institutions is also shaking down for money.
I was just gonna say, that's just
But
different.
it's mostly, but they build it through brand loyalty. And it is those things, you wanna see your friends, you love to see teachers that are still in school. You love to see that, some of them maybe the new building, if they, I don't know, I mean, I'm just
So you
thinking
do
of it,
both,
sort
you
of top
have
of my
a
head.
tour, you have a facility,
Yeah, there's lots
teachers,
you can do.
reception,
That's
and they go and have
Exactly.
parties.
Right, and then, and you talk about projects, and maybe they might think about, I don't know how it works in the public environment about fundraising, I'm not sure about that.
We have partners with CEF and so on.
Right, so maybe, so that's probably where we might, anyway, okay. Anyhow, it's an idea to think about. Okay, how about member committee reports? Anyone?
I just want to say about a couple of committees. There's nothing happening with long-term caps, and not going to for months.
Good.
But with Municipal Facilities Committee,
Yeah.
my appointment expired, both
Okay.
by nature of the time running out and by nature of the Board of Selectmen saying that the school committee no longer
Yeah.
appoints somebody to the Municipal Facilities Committee. They solicited interest in
Yeah.
nominations, and I put my name in for 1 year,
Okay.
for a term of 1 year. I haven't heard back, supposedly they voted on that last night, but I may or may not be serving on that.
Okay, good. Hope you are. Anybody else?
Sure, if you guys have a lot of time. I've been to 2 regional school committee meetings.
Okay.
Absolutely fascinating. I understand politics now.
Yeah.
So, but I will say this, a couple of things that were really interesting. The principal of high school, if you haven't seen this guy in action, he's amazing. And he presented the school improvement plan, which I have in slideshow form, and if you guys would like it, I'd love to send it to you, because
Sure, send it to
they're covering some really amazing ground. For example, they're going to be using universal screeners that they'll start in the 8th grade. And it's called STAR for ELA and math, and then PAIR, P-E-A-R, for social and emotional learning. So they're going to benchmark these kids possibly at the end of 8th grade, early in the 9th grade, and then they're going to keep sort of retesting these kids, reassessing these kids, maybe every 8 to 10 weeks, so they can really watch the evolution of the program into the kids and see if they can help them before things get too far
Kids who
down.
need help, or what?
No, this is everybody.
But is the purpose to catch those who need interventions, or is it to measure the effectiveness of macro programs?
I think it's to make sure that the kids are at the place they should be at, and if they're not at where they should be at, then they would then give them,
So the former, not the
support.
latter.
Yes. And the assessments only take about 20 minutes, so it's not a big labor-intensive, big class time project for, and I think, Jim, that they're using this in the elementary schools. I'm not sure. But, and if you want more information on it, right, you can.
So you're saying it's not just a screener for literacy and for math, but
Right.
also the social emotional?
Right. So that was wonderful, and he was very excited about that. They also talked about the support program that they have in place right now for kids with, that need assistance is sort of across grades, and they felt like that was really chopping things up. So instead of going grade-wise, they're sort of grouping children by their, their strengths and their deficits It's called a cohort model. So then they'll be able to work with these kids on this issue without having to say it's just 12th graders together. So I think that's a,
Don't we kind of do that?
well, this is the high school.
Yeah.
So, and then one of the goals is to also help students improve their presentation skills across all disciplines. So I thought that was an interesting goal. Challenge success, and this is what they're looking at here, is taking steps to reduce stress through scheduling homework and tests, offering time management solutions to students to manage their workload, continue to survey the students to see how they feel about what's going on, working with coaches to help them work toward the balance between academic, school, and outside responsibilities, as well as no homework on vacations, and then also coordinating their assessment days so that kids might not end up with 3 tests on one day, as well as Feel Good Fridays to sort of, add a little levity to the schedule. Another goal they have is sustainability. So you mentioned all the paper that we use. So they're across the board looking at all sorts of ways to be more sustainable at the high school, which I love. Then the other great thing that they're doing is for early release professional days, the faculty, a group of faculty are working with him to create workshops that are like 4 or 5 sessions. And so the teachers have chosen the topics, and they are SPED report recommendations, which would mean...
Sorry to interrupt. These are topics that teachers
The
are
teachers
getting
will do-
PD about.
PD.
Yeah. He called it a deeper dive, to go deeper into these subjects. So, so they're going to be doing, let's see, SPED report recommendations, having classroom teachers work with SPED stuff, instructional methods, cultural competency, social and emotional learning, teen mental health, looking at student work and assessment practices, and interdisciplinary work. So each path they're calling will be 4 to 5 sessions long.
5 sessions in a single PD time or
Over a period of early release days, yeah.
they have a once a week?
I think they're once a week, yeah.
Like every Tuesday or something?
I think it is Tuesdays.
High school has
No.
No early release. Oh.
the high school have like maybe once.
But the grade school, then they asked once.
Maybe they're talking grade school.
There's a standing.
Grade school.
Was this the region?
It is the region, but he was the high school principal, so I figured it was the high school thing. Another topic that you've probably heard about, especially if you have kids going to the high school, is the parking situation. There's, look, I got more information for you though. So here's the thing. They have like 184 spaces.
Is that relevant to Carlisle School Committee?
I don't know. Do you want me to tell you? I don't know.
I have a question that may be relevant to this committee, though.
Call me.
With greater relevance,
Call.
maybe more relevant. And this question both for you, Christine, and for Jim. You spoke, high schools commonly, and you spoke about several programs that make use of multi-age grouping to improve instruction. Multi-age grouping.
Okay.
So in other words, we're not just focused on grade X.
Right,
It's
yeah.
people with this
That's
interest
right.
or how.
Cohort.
That's something else, but I understand what you're saying.
So to what extent and where can we as a district make use of multi-age groupings to
Like a
enhance
language
it?
say or something,
Whether it be, it could be curriculum-based, whether it be
Yeah.
STEM functions, it could be arts-based, it
Yeah.
could be athletic-based, it could be even in various academic
right? Athletics
subjects.
is probably already there, right? I mean, that is the definition.
Yeah.
I don't know, how often are the PE classes single age?
Oh, not PE.
I was thinking more like 7, 8.
Teen softball, okay. You're right, teen, PE is class-based.
So to what extent can we or should we take advantage of multi-age grouping to improve the educational opportunities and the educational focus to specific student needs
Yeah.
within our district?
I
Great
agree.
idea to look
I
at.
agree.
That's a good question. So we have some areas, and there's some areas we can explore.
Yeah. I think that is, I agree with that, and especially as we've talked about it, as the demographics of the middle school population challenge us to review the structure of the middle school. That's something I think we should be considering.
Should we make it a topic for July?
Yeah, sure. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, I just don't want
That's
to
all
get into
right.
the nuances
No.
of parking. If you have other.
Okay, and that's because there's a rookie on the field. I don't know what you want to know, and apparently you don't
Well,
want to
I
know.
want to know things that are relevant. You've done a great job. I want to know things that are
Okay.
relevant to our mission here. Kids driving to school is
That's
not
all I
one of
have
them.
then. I just thought for
Well,
the
it's
group
interesting
sitting
to know the
here.
problems that they're facing. We don't face
Well,
that
but I
yet
also
here.
think that there's at least one
The bike
parent
path doesn't
here.
completely overflow.
Right?
No, but
Self-driving cars.
But there's at least one parent here who I think would have benefited, so, but that's fine. I'm happy to go with the flow. So I'm done.
Okay. Head coach, did you do any head coach stuff?
No, I did, no.
They didn't have any, right?
No,
We
they
finished,
didn't, yeah.
You do have a new director, right?
Yes.
You met her, so.
Yeah, well, I haven't met her personally. I've met her in the interview process.
All right.
I'm good.
Okay. Great. Okay. Let's vote. Nancy, I'm going to need your help. The CEF grants, can you remind us what the CEF grants are? Not what they are, which ones they are.
Jim, I have your summary.
Was there any change to the list that was presented by Allison Becker at the last meeting?
No, you did, see,
I moved offices and I lost the folder that I had all that
Jim
stuff.
sort of,
Okay.
your summarizing there.
NCTE conference, 8,000 asked, 4,300 granted. This is Voices Matter for ELA. Kathy Matt, we'll be sending all middle school ELA teachers plus Kathy Matt lists. Art Link Cultural Connections, Maya Berry, Rachel Levy, is fully funded at $22.95. It's a pilot for next year's third graders to develop a relationship with another class of third graders, sharing artwork and storytelling via video conference. Second grade iPads, 3,500 asked, 2,800 approximately granted. Second grade uses dedicated iPads to create audiobooks, research projects, and to communicate about the Iditarod project. The ones that currently have access are, the ones they have currently accessed are old and crash off and they need newer equipment, et cetera, et cetera. Building learning communities, 5,000 granted and 5,000 asked, 3,000 granted. The CEF has sent teachers to, it's a thing, I guess, building learning communities workshops before. The focus is on technology and education to provide workshops on how to use it within current curricula. And Nick Greenwood had asked for 6 slots at the conference, and they've granted 4. And there's some in these, all of these, there's some professional development funds being used or being asked to be used. So some teachers may go and cover the difference through their PD funds. Math content coaching, 4,400 granted, about half of that is, 4,400 asked, and about half of it granted. Leslie University course that will give the middle school math team plus Leslie Yankett tools to improve math instruction. ASHA, which is the Association for Speech and Hearing, is a national conference in Boston. 3,000 asked, 2,100 granted. And so the CEF is funding part of it, and the rest who want to go are being asked to use PD funds. In summer, Art Studio, Rachel Levy actually granted $100 and something more than she asked for because she forgot to add food and we thought she should eat. And she's going through this thing. She told me about it. It sounds pretty good. Design thinking, building a community of learners and leaders. I think it's in California, is it? Yes. So that's it, and the total is no total here. You guys know?
Yes, 18,384.
Excellent. Is that right? We just made that up. No, that is right. Okay. Okay. Shall we vote?
It might be wrong, but I didn't make it up. It was in the minutes from last meeting.
Oh, good. Thank you. Very good. Oh, I could have read
I saw it somewhere.
Yeah. Very smart. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve the grants.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Thank you.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And thank you to the see ya. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's excellent. Thank you for the work. Okey-doke. Now the Washington DC trip, which is a good thing because tomorrow or the next day is the deadline for the early bird special on the DC trip. We want to make sure it's approved, right? Isn't that right?
I'm sorry, what did you say?
The DC trip, we're approving next year's Washington trip, correct? Nancy?
Yes.
Yes, we are
Okay.
approving next year's Washington DC trip.
And I'll remind people that, I actually know something about this because I have a rising 8th grader. It will be not during
Right.
spring break, but rather during vacation of the school year. And yes, they are flying, and it is a little pricey, but people seem enthusiastic about it. And it doesn't, is there any cost impact to our budget? It's all self-funded, right?
There's no cost.
Impact to our budget, right?
They can, but for the.
I think the, aside from the
Substitute.
fundraising, is that it comes out of the school year, so it affects what is taught during the other part of the school year. And we had something to do with the policy on how teachers go.
Well, there's some reimbursement
Yeah,
for overnights
exactly.
and stuff.
So those are the
But
ways
that's
it
like a
affects.
field trip kind of thing.
Right, and if it's a teacher who teaches multi-grade levels who's chaperoning other than 8th grade, then it could be a
There
substitute.
might be a substitute, but we're talking about nominal.
Correct.
Cost impact.
So my understanding is that parents would be paying,
Well,
To the extent that they don't
the
fundraise.
families will come up with the money. The
So-
parents will.
well, can we talk a little bit more about what the fundraising looks like?
I don't know that there's an organized.
No, I think that means the kids would do their
I
own.
do know what it means. What it means for me as a parent, what I'm saying is, that if I'm going to fundraise for a trip, then my kid would be doing that in a couple of different ways. One of them would be asking family and friends for support, but that 8th grader's friends are other 8th grade parents. So it's kind of like, and the other idea about fundraising is to hold an event that would the
I
funds
think they're
would go-
thinking of doing
But
that. I don't know how much meaningfully they can raise.
right, well, and also in my mind, when that kind of fundraising effort gets underway, it's a significant involvement of parents again. Just speaking from it being, 6th grade spaghetti supper, I've done that a couple times, 7th grade play.
Doesn't some of that, don't they earn, doesn't some of that money from, that's a good point, I thought
Offset some of the other.
the 6th grade fundraising pays for the play.
So
And the
all
play
the
pays for the
funds that
trips.
are earned through the years, 6th grade, 7th grade, culminates in 8th grade where the PTO group gives money back to offset the 8th grade week.
Oh, not the trip.
It's not the PTO's money though.
But I mean, the 8th
Yeah.
grade treasury.
Last
Yeah,
month.
so the money
And-
raised at the spaghetti supper then as the seed money for the 7th grade play, then funds are earned,
And
are.
the play money.
Play
goes
money
to the
comes,
8th
rolls
grade.
over to the 8th, follows that class to the 8th grade, and then it helps to fund some of the things like the.
Including the trip or not?
Not the trip,
Not the
not DC, but 8th
Right.
grade week.
Okay, so let's
All those-
separate, so then Melinda's right, the trip has nothing to do with that mechanic.
I don't know anything about the teachers that run the trip and the activities.
Well,
that-
there's also the question, and I don't know how this is
You have-
decided, to what extent does any fundraising get peanut buttered across everybody versus applied to those parents or students that are
Individually did a fundraising effort, right?
no, actually the other way around, that are perhaps more in need of fundraising, that
Okay.
are in need of assistance.
Well, there is an assistance program.
Yeah.
There are
Is
two
it
assistance
collective?
programs, right? There's one through the company that organizes the trip. You can apply for aid through that.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
biggest one, though, is the parents of the treasury of that class give back, and that helps,
I see, okay.
Offset.
right?
For the trip,
Correct.
okay.
For everyone or just for those identified as?
Well, they've done it two ways. They've given a large sum of money, and that reduces what the children are charged.
Are we
Every-
talking about
But-
previous Washington DC trips? This is how it was done before?
I'm not talking about DC.
Okay.
I'm talking about 8th grade week with all those activities.
Right.
And it either helps all children and the fees that are charged are minimal,
Right.
or it sponsors children who don't have means to pay for an activity.
So the reason I'm bringing this up is I'm concerned about, and I'm hesitant about passing that kind of expense on to parents in order for their kids to participate in part of the curriculum. It's between $1,000 and $1,200.
But what would one do as an alternative? Not have, I mean, my understanding, I'm not debating that, I guess, but it is my understanding that from a curriculum development standpoint, the 8th grade educational team and Carrie believe that it's an important educational piece, which is why they moved it into the academic year. Did you say that's true?
I would say, yeah, it's an important, it's a part of the curriculum.
Yeah.
And they want to have it be present for all students to be present for that. But it is a concern, right? That there is a concern.
Now you say some might not be able to participate.
But and this is what we get, if we are going to run it as part of the curriculum,
Yeah.
then we do have to be able to ensure that all will be able to have the opportunity to participate.
Right, and how do you propose to do that?
So that's when we come to fundraising and we come to, grants.
But there's not a plan for either.
In the World Strides grants as well.
Right. They do that on an
Yeah,
individual
but
basis.
I'm not sure how the
We don't
World
know how
Strides
it's
grants
gonna
work if it's not just really
So Melinda brings up a good point.
redistribution of money, right?
There's not a,
Of course it is in the end.
there's not presently a plan for those two things.
I would say no, there
Grants.
isn't presently a plan.
So my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, was that the decision was made to do this during the school year as opposed to during vacation, because there were a significant number of students who could not participate because their family had other plans during vacation.
There's that aspect as well.
And that's why it was made during the school year.
I don't think that's the only
We were
reason.
told about that trip really early in the school year, so we did know about it, and, given,
Did you gotta go?
so I think that families might have had enough time to plan for that, because it was upfront, the beginning of the year, we were told.
Well, similarly, families would have enough time to plan for the expense if they felt that it was worth it.
Right, and so we got a little bit more than 50% participation.
Because it was during vacation.
Well, I'm
We're not sure why.
Okay.
I mean, another option is for any financial need, we ask a family to fill out a free and reduced application. We have to have that on file to give any consideration.
Wait a minute.
But where does,
Yeah, where does it come from?
Where does the money
It came
come from to
the
reduce
budget,
it?
the school budget. It's not in the school budget.
Well, no, it's not in the school budget, but, we might have we might have people who have donated funds. We might say to the people, look, we'll do a payment plan with you, let's start now. We try to work with them as much as we can, but they have to do the free and reduced, because it's pages with that you check off. I want my family to be considered for other activities other than just lunch.
I mean, you have that, right, you have that for lunch and for some other activities.
If the child does athletics or the child
But we're
does,
talking
the
about-
process for this, is what you're trying to say.
there's a process.
Right, and that's good.
And there's
but
no
that-
guarantee we have the funds. I'm just
No, I
saying
know.
to
So I
get
think it still pushes, if we could make them go through a process and say, oh, by the way, we don't have
Yeah.
any money, right?
or
Then
you
we're-
don't qualify.
But I think what
Well, that's
Melinda is
different,
saying is,
but-
what about the family between that?
Yeah, right.
Yep.
But just, presuming that, parents should bear the burden of that expense for their kid to participate in the curriculum. And I want to say, when Mr. Kilmartin came and presented and Carrie was here, their enthusiasm about it was fantastic. I see it as a wonderful trip. It ties so many things together for the curriculum. I feel it's a positive experience. I want kids to have that opportunity and that option to go on that trip. I think it's awesome. But I think this particular piece,
No, it's a fair statement. So I think, but it leaves us with a conundrum because they're kind of moving out, right? They've engaged, they haven't signed, I guess they couldn't sign it.
No, we can't sign until it's approved.
Right, so, but I went to that orientation, and there's a deadline, which is like Friday, I think, right? To put in, I guess that's just the reduced piece.
So Dave, I don't know that there's any more information that we need to go away to think about or constituencies. There may be more deliberation needed.
Well, yes.
But there's no reason to delay, so therefore, the process is already in motion is almost irrelevant to our deliberations.
Well, no, I wouldn't say that at all, because I think they're on some calendar now. If we put, I'm not saying, and actually, this is unfortunately, I'm sorry I didn't think of it myself, but your comments, especially Melinda's comments, have, triggered the thought process now. If we decide that we're not, for whatever reason, and then there is more information, we need to think about if it is baked into the school year, and a significant portion of the students opt out for whatever reason. When they opted out of vacation time, okay, they opted out of vacation time. They didn't get to do a thing, and some other thing they did instead, whatever that is. But now that it's in the school year, it's kind of like outdoor ed, except outdoor ed doesn't cost that much, right? And some people go, but some people don't go, right?
But that's the, very few people
don't go. But this is now a whole step up.
So just my perspective on this, having had 2 kids already, 3 that go through 8th grade, but 2 in the Washington DC trip. And being during a vacation, one said, I want to skip out on family vacation. I'm going.
Right.
Okay. The other said, I want to go on family vacation. I'm not going to that. But I would, from as a parent perspective, I don't want to have to put other kids and other parents in that position of.
No, it's even worse. That one was a trade-off of, doing, and I assume that there was something fun you had planned on the one.
I would like to think so, but.
Okay, but this is like, you show up at school and there's 20 of you that.
Or fewer
that didn't go during the school year. Well, all these kids are doing this other thing. And if it's an economics thing, and we can't commit money we don't have, I don't know, that is an issue, right?
No, and we do need to be able to address the economic piece, right? So we need time to plan to address the economic piece.
Do we?
But I think the idea of going during the school year is a positive.
Nancy, can you pull up? We did the travel policy this year, didn't we? And wasn't there a whole thing that they have to come with a fundraising plan? Wasn't that a
the
policy?
out-of-state travel policy, that one?
Yeah,
I don't know
thought
if we
there was
ever
a thing when they propose it, they have to have a
concluded about that
fundraising.
one. Is it based on the DESE?
Well, we might as well read the one, we voted it within the last few months, right? It was pretty recent.
With respect to Cory checks, that's.
Yeah.
I don't know if we did go with that one.
Yeah, we did travel.
We did vote on something that says we're required.
It was an overnight field trip thing, and yes, it was based on, I don't know if it's DESE or MASC, actually, but I mean.
Yeah, I don't know what's going to be in there. I was going to do a search.
Well, anyway, I mean, I thought in there was the requirement that they come up with. Nevertheless, I mean, if we decide to table it, where does that leave us? Because where does that leave them?
That may actually increase the cost and question the trip at all. I would support instead simultaneously saying we support the trip, but also directing Jim to come up with 2 things. First, a plan and a proposal on what should be done with the kids who opt out, and what fundraising strategies will be employed with what distribution algorithm to address the cost issue, particularly for those families who can't afford it.
Okay. And the mechanism of that latter would be the way you propose?
That's just a form. That's not a fundraising mechanism. It's not an allocation.
No, but it's to decide if you can't broadly say, well, I'm not sure how to articulate this, but you'd want to identify those who would be the recipients of that fundraising, right? I guess. I mean, otherwise you haven't. If it's $2,000, what is it? $1,200?
Last year was about 1,000 or so it's going to go up a little bit.
1,200 times
Eventually go up probably every year.
But also going to flying instead of busing, it's going to go up a little. So it's not unreasonable to say it's going to be more than 1,000, probably less than 1,500, somewhere in that range. But regardless of what the cost is in absolute terms, wherever the cost lies, there will be some for whom this is not an issue, and some for whom this is a showstopper, and others for whom it's somewhere in between.
Right, and the in-between, so, I mean, I wouldn't dream of putting forward, my family for reimbursement. But some people will want to, and then, is there a stigma? How do they, and that?
As far as I know, and correct me if I'm wrong, Susan, there's not even public knowledge of who receives this. Am I correct?
That is correct.
hence the mechanism.
Yep.
In confidence, they can
Yeah.
identify.
There is the question of where do the funds come from and how are they distributed? Through what algorithm? If we have $1 to distribute, where does that
Right,
go?
yeah, I get it, okay. I mean, that sounds reasonable to me. What do you think? We haven't really thought.
I think we do, we need to be able to make sure that we can find funds to support all students participating in that. Now, if students opt out for some other reason, other than funds, then that's
Well,
just
but
their
you
choice.
can't say, you cannot say we have to find the funds. We don't have the funds.
No,
You
no,
have
we're-
to make plans to raise funds, and
We have
whatever
to-
funds you raise can be used.
Exactly,
But there
or we
may
can go
still
to
be a gap.
organizations and say, can we get a grant, will you support us with a grant to support students who may need a scholarship to participate, or may need a partial scholarship to participate, and see what the needs are.
Okay.
But I think if I go back and work with Carrie for a couple of weeks, and Matt, and then the 8th grade team, I think we would need to have those pieces in
And
place.
perhaps with our private fundraising partners as well.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, is there documentation on the trip? Because it wasn't at the last cost.
There was a
There isn't
presentation.
documentation.
No costs or anything.
No, but
I
it's-
read it though.
As it was described that the cost last year was
It's
$1,050.
in the minutes.
The expectation is that the cost would be going up. But-
So if you signed up to go early in the year, after the presentation was made in the beginning of the year, it was $1,050. If you waited and you signed on a little bit later, it was $1,200.
For the next trip.
For that same trip, but it was like a early bird, like you could sign on.
The one that's coming up, you're
Oh, for the
discussing.
one that's
No, for the
coming
last
up?
one.
I don't know the cost.
I meant for the one coming up.
I don't know the cost for the one coming up. I'm assuming it would be similar. I don't know.
But they don't
It's
fly.
right here.
They
Actually,
would fly, they flew the last time too. So it's a policy, so that's why I'm assuming it would be similar. The one, this is the first time they did the flying, and it was.
Right. What?
If the policy can work.
Oh, yeah. Can you address the piece about?
The planner will discuss the proposal of the trip, the planner will appear, the planner will obtain all necessary data. Plans for the swimmers, chaperones, chaperones.
Keep going. Method, here we go. Read first.
The method and source of funding, including any projected need for scholarship aid if cost is to be borne by individual families.
Okay, so the planners to develop a specific proposal. So really, that should have been in place prior to us. If we followed our own policy, we should
Yeah,
have,
said that last.
we should have said that last time. Go find out these things.
And the scholarship need is, it's need-based, and there won't be a large portion of participation or eligibility for that.
There may be fractional participation
Yeah,
as well.
I agree with Josh. I mean, once you open that door, some people may say, yeah.
Well, we could approve it and say that, but you have to put together a fundraising mechanism that has to be approved by the superintendent.
Right, but, yeah, okay. But then what if it's, I mean,
Another question, and I don't know the answer to it, is, we talked about the money that is raised from 6th, 7th grade activities, and at the end, in 8th grade, what has been normally left over, if anything, after they fund their other activities, if there's any.
I don't know,
I don't
at least
think
we
it's-
can't say that, that's not really.
Well, and what's left over is
That's not
probably at
our
most
money.
$5,000, if it's ever that.
Well, they
usually
give
not.
something to the school usually, right?
Yeah.
The outgoing 8th grade class,
With
and
whatever's
then
left.
they probably take money with them as, I don't know.
No, they usually roll it over for the PTO.
But the
They
point
do.
is that there's not, it wouldn't be a significant enough.
Yeah, I don't even know if we legally could.
We can't, it's not their money anyways.
No, we couldn't.
It's not the.
No, but it could be part of the fundraiser, is what you're saying.
Well, let's not, we're overcomplicating that. I think Josh's view is the correct one. We have to, in your view, Christine, we have to remand the, is that the right word? We have to remand the right word? That's too draconian.
I'm not sure.
We have to instruct the leaders.
Planners.
Is that Kilmartin and Al, or is it Carrie and then becomes Matt's issue?
Probably a combination.
And there's not a lot of
So we'll
time.
go back and we'll talk with Carrie and.
I think we gotta get on it before they leave.
And we can get it, I think part of it is gathering that initial data on, okay, here's the possible plan. Please let us know if you, here's a discrete way of letting us know whether you may or may not need financial support to make this possible for your child.
Well, so I'd rather not get into the details of the mechanism by which or the dates, but rather to ask you to work out both the process for, how is that done? Figure out the strategy for how are funds raised, and what do you do with the kids who, for one reason or another, whether it's financial, whether it's fear of flying.
That I think I bet they've already worked that out. I think based on my, evening session, the
We
orientation
usually have
session.
a fallback plan.
But if they have, it doesn't hurt to say, on the record, Jim, we ask you to do this as part of our approval.
I agree with that, but I'm still on the fundraising. I think, again, I also don't want to get into mechanics, but I want to emphasize that they really should, by whatever methodology, make an estimation how much money should be raised to cover. It has to be cost neutral to the school, and it shouldn't unduly burden parents. And they probably know enough about the financial situation of that class, and they've been here for 8 years, to make some kind of back-of-the-envelope assessment about the quantum of funds that would have to be raised and how they.
Well, there are two different issues there. One is, how can you know?
But you
The
don't
second
know.
is,
You just use your knowledge.
even if you set a fundraising target, let's say you came in either above or below that, that may or may not address the need. And then how do you proportion that money?
No, I understand that,
Addressing
but
that.
are we talking about, $5,000 or $50,000?
Well,
50.
50 would cover the whole class. I
It
mean,
doesn't.
Well, no,
It's $75,000 at least, and that's
Yeah, right.
the price tag of this trip.
So maybe
Yeah,
50.
but
is it-
not all
is it-
parents are going to need financial
Is it
aid.
3,000
No, we're not talking about
or
financially.
20,000?
But
the other-
offset.
But the thing, offset.
For everybody.
Right.
That's part of it, because, from my perspective, I can, foot the bill, but, I'm weighing a lot of other things there. And I don't want to be then told, well, you have to foot this bill now.
Well, nobody's saying you have
You're
to.
inheriting
Well,
this.
you are,
but there
it's
is-
part of the
For your
curriculum.
kid
There
to
is social
participate in
pressure.
our curriculum, there's a cost to
Right.
you of this amount.
Yeah.
And that's new, that's a new,
The fact that it is during the school year makes it more problematic.
What have we done for outdoor ed the whole time? I mean, it's comparable for that.
Part of it, that is offset by the spaghetti supper money,
Who
so.
pays for outdoor ed?
We do.
The
Parents
do.
The parents pay.
And the treasury for the 6th grade may call and say, are there any concerns? And they help.
So this may be
So it is
difference in
offset
order, this may be difference in order of magnitude
Right.
or in
It's the
amount,
same.
but the same process, the same principle. Parents are
Okay,
expected to
I
make,
get it,
and all
I
the
get it, I
efforts
get it.
offset that.
All right.
And we can gather some, we by no means are the only school that would be.
That's right.
I have an 8th grader, his class went to DC, they met up with 40 other
Yeah,
8th grade classes that were all down there at that same time. So we can also reach out to other districts and see, what does their process look like? How did you get that estimate?
So these are all good ideas. Shall we? take-
But it is, I do want to recognize it is a burden, it's a new financial burden.
So, Josh, would you like to articulate a motion that encompasses these?
I move a 3-part motion.
Okay.
One part, we approve the trip as suggested, subject to parts 2 and 3. Part 2, that Jim be tasked with developing a plan for and details behind the finances of it and present to us at the next meeting. And subject to Jim presenting the plan for the opt-out students at the next meeting as well.
Okay.
But sorry.
Would you like to second, or do you want?
I'll second.
Okay. Now it's open for discussion, yes.
I don't think Jim should prepare that. I think that the coordinator should prepare that.
Well, he's in this one.
They work for him.
It's a through line. we'll just
Okay,
say.
it's a through line.
We don't ask the teachers to do stuff, we ask Jim to.
Right.
All right.
Have we communicated with families about this?
The families, do you mean the 8th grade families?
They're the
they've
ones
gotten
who are
the
going to be, the ones coming.
They've all gotten the
Great.
packets, and many, a bunch went to the orientation.
Okay,
It's
so,
not unknown.
and what was the feedback?
I don't know. What do you have you have a rising 8th grader sister, right? Is she going?
Yeah, I think she's.
What's your
gonna-
feedback, sorry.
Oh, no problem.
What's your feedback on other,
So-
are you talking to other parents about?
Yeah, I think most of the parents are going.
Well, you have to say your name and your address.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Emma Mustafi, 1173 North Road.
You don't have to give the street.
The number.
The number.
So, So, the parents that I talk to, the biggest value they see is, it's an experience for the kids to go with their friends. I think it's towards the end of the school year too.
Right.
So it's a.
June, actually, yes.
Yeah. So
It
it's
will roll
a,
into some of these senior week things.
it's an unusual experience because they really don't get much time to go on trips together.
But Eva, has there been any pushback about the money and,
Right,
and the
that's-
fact that this is
It is-
required almost?
No, it's not,
It's not required.
I talked to my daughter.
No,
So I talked to my daughter, and my daughter goes, well, we have done DC before. I mean, you can never get enough of DC
Right.
and the museum. So every time you go, you'll get a different experience, and the big value is that you get actually a professional tour guide talking to the kids. So she looked at my eighth grader, rising eighth grader. She said, "Mom, are you sure you want me to go? Because this trip is kind of pricey." And I said, "Well, do you want to go? Are your friends going?" And from what we are gathering, I think most parents, they don't mind. They looked at the price. Most of them probably have taken their kids, but they want that experience for their kids. So I haven't heard bad feedback. People are generally excited about having this opportunity
That's similar to
for them.
my experience is the same as yours.
And they don't have to chaperone, that's the big thing.
It's all done.
I get my personal experience, but I've also, not for next year's trip, for next year's eighth graders, but in the previous 2 years, I had many child's friends' parents feedback, and at least half a dozen parents talked about what a good experience it was. None complained about, raised the issue of the cost.
Yeah. Okay, all right, so I think we have a good plan. Any further discussion on the motion? We're good with it? Thank you for raising it, it was good, yeah. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, and you will so communicate. All right. Now we have a motion at last meeting, Jim recommends that Tracy Malone's son will attend kindergarten at CPS starting next year. I don't think further deliberation. She has a daughter who is going to high school.
Yeah.
And he's been approved by CCHS to go to high school, and he's been here for a long time. She's been here a long time.
Yes.
So again, motion to accept.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion about that?
Just a question about that. You said that her daughter was approved. What is the, for high school?
Oh, yeah.
Has there ever been a case? You know where we're going with this one?
Yeah.
It's like an unspoken.
I mean, no, I don't
Okay.
think, to my knowledge, it's not the case, but it's two different districts.
Understood.
And we try to make it clear to, such as Tracy and her son, that we don't control that.
Okay.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Great. Tracy, will you please? Okay. Background check policy. So I think we concluded from Melissa's work that we would stick with after going around and around, that we would stick with the MASC policy that has, one part of it covers state policy, one covers federal policy. MASC recommends all districts include all of that information. Ms. McMorrow recommended that CSC affirm the original policy with, I guess, some minor edits, and so that is what is included, correct? Okay, motion to accept. Mr. Motion, Mr. Vice Chair?
So moved.
A second.
Okay. Discussion, any more discussion about it?
Thank you,
There was
Melissa.
just one place where, yes, thank you, Melissa. There was just one place that they used an acronym and it wasn't called out what it was.
Okay, we should correct that then.
It was the SAFI, something like SAFIS. I didn't see, I had to look it up.
Um,
I know what it is now, but if you just search that acronym in there, you can find it.
SAFIS.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's on the CHO.
It's page 2.
Page 2, yeah.
Good eye.
No, it's right there. Just do the search.
Okay. Very good, okay.
Yeah, towards the bottom, the CHRI training. towards the
Oh, and
bottom.
what does that stand for?
It's a, fingerprints.
It does
information system.
specify, so subheading on the first page, requesting criminal history record information, CHRI check.
Right, but this is the SAFIS,
Oh,
which is the fingerprint database or something.
got it.
Okay, so where should that be, sort of right there?
Just right there where that is. That's
Okay.
it.
So Nancy, you'll look up that acronym and insert it? And so we can amend our motion to incorporate that reference.
You're not making it easy.
Do we have to amend the motion?
I move to amend the motion, adding the definition of the acronym
SAFIS.
SAFIS prior to the, or at the presence of the first use of the acronym in the policy.
Very good.
Is there a second to my motion?
Second.
Further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, and now to vote to extend an offer to Laura Sawyer, a school nurse. Motion, please.
I move that we extend an offer to the candidate, her name is
Lauren Sawyer.
Lauren Sawyer.
Lauren Sawyer, for the position of school nurse.
Second.
Discussion? Happy with the choice? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Very good. Please do so. And finally, vote to accept the gift of a tree from the Early Act Club.
So
I'd like to
moved.
make a, oh, go ahead.
I move that we accept it with gratitude.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, excellent. All right. Okay, warrants. What do we do now? We just read them or we?
No, you don't have to do anything.
Okay.
But I do want to announce that I have a third payroll warrant, 8018, in the amount of $401,023 and 37
And that
cents.
has the summer payroll?
It's just the recent payroll.
That includes the summer?
No,
Oh,
I'm doing that tomorrow.
You're doing what?
The teacher's lump sum payroll.
How do we warrant that then?
Same thing.
Okay.
Priscilla prints and sends it to me,
Okay.
and then I
So
call.
it's ratified, we cleared that up, right, Nancy? It's ratified by, we've already empowered Christine to
Yes.
review
Right.
it.
So I have a question on these payroll warrants. Why is there 10% variability in these, month to month?
We have people get stipends randomly, we have people,
It's that much, 10%?
yeah, it can be greater, you know. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. Other business, any other business? Citizens' comments. There's one citizen typing on her iPad, on her smartphone.
Another citizen
She's here because of her son.
What?
She's here for a
I
camera.
know. Well, she's a reporter, right? I guess she's still a citizen.
She's still a citizen.
She's still a citizen.
Thank you.
Cynthia, anything you'd like to add? Anything you'd like to add,
All
Cynthia?
set, thank you.
Okay, then I move to adjourn to executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, with no intent to return to open session for the following reasons. Purpose 2, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, I'll just say. And purpose 3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining if an open meeting would have detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body. And that's it. So we have to accept the adjournment to executive, right, by a voice vote?
Roll call vote.
Yeah, roll call.
Roll call vote.
Kablotsky, aye.
Modell, aye.
Lear, aye.
Gambino, aye.
Okay, the public, I can't do this. The public session is closed. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Mustafi family. Thank you, Susan.
Thank you, Cameron.
Thank